Thank you very much.
People buy for political reasons. People buy to earn foreign exchange. People buy because there's a stable investment opportunity out of their home country. The good thing about the UK is that the mortgage and property purchase and sale market is tried and tested. It's been ongoing for over 400 years. It's a very transparent economy. You can check what anybody buy, travel from Nigeria on a Friday, watch football, do their shopping, see their kids, and they are back at work on Monday. It's also the financial capital of the world. You know, it's home of football. The Premiership football is one of the most watched events in the world. There are 6 Premiership clubs in London, and the champions of Europe at the moment is from London. This is a familiar feature of London. We are all familiar with this map, the tube map. I would say this is the veins. This is what makes London tick. And you must have come across the game Monopoly, or either played it or heard about it. The circle line, the yellow line, you can see that it goes is a circle. You know, if you start from one point, you come all the way around. The circle line is the Monopoly area. That is zone 1. Okay, you can see 4, 3. You know, everybody will be familiar with Central London. You have your Oxford Street, Bond Street, Marble Arch. You know, Madame Tussauds in Baker Street. The tube network actually dictates where people buy if you're an investor. If it's your home, you can buy anywhere. You can decide to buy in the sticks, Surrey, Hertfordshire. But if you're an investor, you want to buy where prospective tenants would live and can commute to where they work. The City of London is in Moorgate, Aldgate, Barbican, and that's where, you know, the 6-figure salaries are earned. You know, so wherever you live, when you're investing as a company, is we don't just sell. We are not salespeople. We sit down with you, understand exactly why you're buying. Are you buying looking at a pension fund? Are you buying because you are going to have 1 or 2, 3 kids going to school in London, and rather than shipping them at every bank holiday and midterm to Nigeria, maybe you would want a place to stay together? For medical reasons as well, you know, people tend to buy because maybe they come to London often. So for whatever reason you're buying will determine where you should buy. Well, in 1981, this is a personal experience. I was on a visit to London and we had to travel from Stratford. It took us just under 4 hours to get to London Zoo in Regent's Park. And last year, London hosted the Olympics. I decided to get a feel of the game. From King's Cross, my office is in King's Cross, it was 5 minutes walk to the station. There's a new station, there's a new tube line called the Javelin line. It took us 6 minutes, under 8 minutes to get to Stratford. Why I brought this from London? Well, London is a dynamic city. It's a city that keeps reinventing itself. In the last 20 years, if you imagine what has happened in London, well, the Eurostar has moved from Waterloo to St. Pancras. The Wembley has been rebuilt. The Dome was built to celebrate the millennium. It's been remodernized. It's now the O2 Center. You know, Westfield Mall in Shepherd's Bush, another one in Stratford, the Olympic Stadium. So it's a city that keeps reinventing itself. So you can't judge London based on what you knew when you were schooling in London 25 years ago. It keeps moving. You know, there was the Tottenham riot 2 years ago, because being an old city, and it's a small island, you know, you have to give it to these guys. So they were barely 10 million population when they ruled the world, from Karachi to Uganda. You know, it's a small island, so we have to make do with what we have. So there's a massive regeneration going on. King's Cross is being totally regenerated. Old warehouses are being turned around into brilliant live-home buildings. A lot is happening, but you need to speak to people who are on the ground, who know what they're doing, and take advantage of the time. The red spots on the screen indicates colleges and universities in London. The last statistics available was the 2011-2012. We have China leading the pack with overseas students, followed by India and Nigeria. Because of the quality education in the UK, a lot of people are looking at sending their kids to do their A-levels and university education in the UK. And the schools, Imperial College, LSE, London Business School, they are some of the top universities in the world. Queen Mary, many universities. For you to plan well for your children's education, if you have teens, it's best to start now, so that by the time they get to the university age, you know, you won't be changing naira to £2. So to recap, the reasons why people buy, they buy because of the schools. It could be a second home. There's no culture shock. You know, later to go around. You know, you'll be shocked that your house helps would, if you drop them in a street in London, they will probably know one or two things about the city. It's a good pension plan, medical, stable investment climate, and relative security. One of the things I would like to point out is the fact that before terrorism became a worldwide issue, London was exposed to terrorism via the IRA. You know, this has helped London prepare itself for what most nations are coming to terms with. And it was no fluke that after the July 7 bomb in London, under 1 week, everybody was apprehended. It wasn't a fluke. It took the US about 10 years to get, basically, London is safe. So what we offer you is credible expert advice on London property. We will try to move as fast as we can, but we'll rather get it right than get it done in a rush. We have excellent network with the people that make things happen in London, the solicitors, receivers, auction houses, and whatnot. Everybody that can bring value to you in terms of the property you're buying, we would get to know. I want to point out something. It's easy for anybody to go on the right move or find a property and buy a property and try to buy a property. I met someone yesterday in Lagos when we had a talk that went to London. He traveled to London 6 times before getting the property he bought. You know, it's a total waste of time. This is what we are there for, is to do the leg run, and it's a one-stop shop. We can buy the property, get the property for you, negotiate it, manage it if you're renting it, and if it's time to resell it, we'll advise you accordingly. Another point I like to bring up is when receivers are selling a property, maybe it's a foreclosure, there's a requirement that property has to be, they will put it in a local paper that, look, we've received an offer of X amount on this property, and we have 14 days you have 14 days to beat this offer, right? So there are some things that don't come up online that you need the local man to stay on top of them for you. Also, there are sentimental buys. That has to do with the last line there, the bespoke property search. I've met people that want to buy in London, and they want to buy in a particular block for various reasons. I met a gentleman about 5 years ago, and he insisted he wanted to buy in a particular block. And there were better properties, but he said, look, that's where I want. So we had to knock on doors, write letters, for us to get a property there. When he bought the property, he now explained to me the reason why he wanted to buy in that particular block. When he was a young guy, he was in A-levels, he was staying with a cousin that owned a flat in that block. He went partying, got home, and they didn't let him in. They kicked him out in the winter. And he said he said a prayer to himself that I'm going to buy in this block. When he insisted in buying in that place, I didn't know why he wanted to buy. So we can get you what you want once you tell us. In any property transaction, typically you have about 5 or 6 parties to deal with. You have the surveyor, because the funds have to go through a bank. So what we offer is the fact that we act as the interface for you. We deal with all the parties involved and answer the questions directed to you and pass those, when we need you, we'll let you know. Because they will ask you questions that you are probably not conversant with, you're not sure of. They're asking you, is it a leasehold, is it a freehold, is the garden, triangle garden? I'll point this out, this triangle garden. Among the Indian Asian community, a triangle garden means bad luck. So, as a Nigerian, you can go and view a property and you like it and you buy it. But when you want to sell the property, it might become a problem. So if you're buying a property in a predominantly Asian environment and you are unfortunate to be sold a property with a triangle garden, God help you to get someone to sell it to in the later years. So these are why you need someone that is on ground. Some people say, no, I have a cousin, he has bought 1 or 2 properties. This year alone, I've bought over 65 properties. We are there on a daily basis. All we're saying is that you don't have to use us, but it's a no obligation, confidential relationship. If you're going to use us, you have to pay us. But to seek advice or ask a second opinion, just talk to us. So basically, the bank is there, and FBN might be 6%, but there are no shocks. If you get 0% credit card in 6 months, it shoots up. One of the areas we source property, there are various ways of sourcing it. Why I like the auction is the fact that the auction room is typically like this room, and what happens is on the day, if you are successful, you go home knowing you bought your property because you paid the 10%, you've exchanged the property, and in 28 days, you will get your keys. But it's an open market. You might go thinking that you bid at X amount and someone goes in at a higher amount. But we are not sentimental about it. We are not emotional. If you give us a brief that I don't want to go over 400,000, we can't go over 400,000. But if you are spending your money, when you are raising your hand, you can get carried away and go over your budget. But because we are spending someone else's money, we can't go over that budget. There are off-market deals, there are divorce settlements. The very good properties don't come. At least you find an influential person that will open his door to unknown people to come and view, see your painting. They can see your family album, open your porch, your wardrobe. They won't do that. They deal with people that can fact find the buyer, know the buyer is in a position to buy before coming into their homes. You might ask that why do people sell at the auction? There are some organizations that they actually have to sell at the auction for transparency purposes. The Metropolitan Police, when they are selling, the housing owners have to take those properties to the auction just to show transparency and the fact that there's no underhand deals. People also sell because they are releasing their portfolio, they are downsizing, or they just want to sell. One of the new features in London, London is a very old city. It's a city that has survived 2 world wars and is still standing. There are buildings that have stood the test of time, 200, 300 years, but increasingly we're getting new developments. What new developments offer you is the fact that you can plan yourself. Typically you pay 2,500 to secure the property. In about 28 working days you pay 10% to exchange the contract for now that the property will be completed. It gives you time to get your finance in order and the mortgage arranged and the property and buy the property. It's not always the case. However, in most cases, when you buy into a new development, because you are buying now for something that will be delivered in future, in most cases the value could have increased, by the time the property is completed. However, it's not in all cases. You need to do your due diligence. We still have acute shortage of properties. London is still an attractive place to visit. As a matter of fact, the Chinese seems to have just discovered London. In the right locations in the city, I've seen 100% equity growth in 2 or 3 years. Because it's a cycle. It's usually a 10-year cycle of 100%. But in the real sense of it, it's not 10 years. If you are lucky and you key in year 7, you can buy a property in a year, it could go 100%. And you can buy it and you might have to wait for 10 years for it to hit that level. But I need to raise this observation. London is not Abuja or Lagos. It's not a place that before you even perfect your title, your property has doubled. It's not a wonderland. It is more consistent. It is consistent. You will get there, but it's not. It's not razzmatazz. It is, consistent, and you will get there. And you don't have to have the full money. Even if you have the full money to buy, it might be logical to speak to the bank for finance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yemi.
The monthly repayment sheet.
What's going to happen? How are we going to sustain our lifestyle? So one of the main reasons why you should consider investing in London is the pension plan. Medical, no one is sure what can happen tomorrow. There are some of the best hospitals in London, in the world are in London, and it's easy to fly. I have a client as well. This is very funny. He was in Abuja for a meeting, and it was sometimes around October last year. I think there was some issues with Boko Haram in the city, and he had a knock on his door around 3 a.m. What happened was the hoteliers were knocking the door to inform him of a fire incident, but he had fanatic instead of fire, and he jumped from the 4th floor. As I speak to you, he's still in London. He was packed like that, and he was transported by air ambulance to London. We can find ourselves in any situation at any time. This gentleman has a house in London, and he's been able to. This is a real life story. Something that has happened is still ongoing. He's been in London since October 14th, and he's still there now. But because he has a home, because the private hospital were charging him £400 a night. So for the first 4 weeks he had to be there. But immediately he was strong enough. He moved into his house and he goes from home. These are real life experiences that can happen to anybody. We are all familiar with this. You know, if not for anything, take your children to London to see the Red Bus. What we offer you as a company, Daniel Ford, is a one-stop shop. We advise you on where to buy, why to buy, and when to buy. We have excellent links, network with different solicitors, auction houses, real estate agents, you know, and we get to know about properties before they come onto the market. But buying the property is not the end of the matter. You know, first you want to buy the right property. You want to buy a property that will not cost you a headache. You don't want to buy in a block that a proposed major work is coming up and your service charge will be higher than you can afford. You know, there are not many things in life, I think, that one will buy that will be more expensive than a house. And it's funny that people will go and view a property in 10 minutes and take a decision on something that can change their life. You need someone that is on ground, credible, and understand the market. You don't have to use us, but please speak to us. You know, it's confidential, there's no obligation. If you have to use us, you pay us, but if you need a second opinion, we will gladly give you. The bespoke property search, I'll just touch on that. There are people that want particular blocks. They have sentimental attachments to buildings, or maybe they grew up or their parents, you know, for whatever reason, you might want a particular block, and that property might not be available. We are able to knock on doors. We are members of management associations. We sit down with them, so we earn their trust, and when something comes up, they will let us know. This chart highlights all the parties involved in a purchase. When you're buying a property in the UK, you will need a bank. You need a bank either to get a mortgage, or you need a bank to put your money in and transfer funds from. The bank, if you are taking a mortgage, would instruct a valuer or a surveyor. And if you're not taking a mortgage, it's advisable to still carry out a valuation, because the valuation will cost you £500, £600. I think it's worth the trouble for an investment of £250,000, £500,000. You have the solicitors. Unlike Nigeria, every property transaction has to go through via a solicitor. What the solicitor does is they ensure that the person selling to you is not a bankrupt. He owns the property. The property is, there's no plan to demolish that building and build a market or something there. Basically, to protect your interest, the solicitor interfaces with the other side's solicitor. And you have a vendor. The vendors, in some cases, they might be very anxious. They might be old people auctions in London, but the major ones are about 25 auctions that come up every month. Every month there is an auction. So what we do is we extract the value property from maybe a list of 300. We have a smaller list. If you're on our mailing list, we send out this list to you. If you see a property that catches your fancy, you say, oh, I'm interested in lot 1, lot 2, or lot 3. We do our due diligence on them and report back to you. We agree together on a cap. The benefit of an auction is a typical London auction room is like this room. Someone is at this table with a gavel, 20,000, 30,000, it's transparent. Once you win the bid, the gavel goes down, you pay 10%, you leave that room that day with the documents to your solicitors. In 28 working days, you pay the balance and you have your property. The people that sell at the auction are people like the Housing Association, the Metropolitan Police, the Ministry of Justice, banks, repossessed property, distressed developers. And people can, an ordinary person can go and sell at the auction as well, but it needs proper due diligence. We get off-market deals as well. Divorce settlement, they might not want to put their property on the market, and they want to speak to people that can sell very quickly. And you still have the traditional channels, the internet portals, Rightmove, and Find a Property and the others. However, pictures might be deceptive. nobody would highlight the bad aspect of his property when they put it online. You need to see what you're buying. Someone invited me once to go and see a property with him. And the first place they took us to was the kitchen, which was nice. And he had seen it twice with the wife. He was happy with it. And we went around, and we spent more time in the kitchen than any other place. After the viewing, I asked the agent, where are the radiators? The property didn't have a radiator. That would take him back about 2,000 to 3,000 pounds. Literally two things, because you can get overwhelmed in a 10-minute viewing. You need to know exactly what you're doing. There's a new development, relatively new development in West Hampstead. It was built about 3 or 4 years ago. And the Nigerian called me that I really like this property, I've seen it, I want to buy it. And I asked her, did you look to the right? She said, what do you mean to look to the right? I like the property. I said, did you realize that there's a cemetery to the right? She said, never, I'm not buying next to the cemetery, So it's literally two things. I'm not saying, I don't know, some people might like to live next to the cemetery, but at least you should know what you are going into, from the onset. Also, the real good value properties don't go around. If it's a deal, it won't be hanging about for long. That is the truth. And people are a little bit getting different people into their house. They're not sure if you're going to buy or not. What we bring to the table is the fact that we're acquisition agents. So anybody we're dealing with, we fact find a person. We know the person can afford that property. So when you deal with us, in 2 or 3 builds, you can make a choice. That is the benefit. Because we won't be selling you, if you need a 3-bed, what's the point of showing you a 1-bed? But you see, estate agents they have like a tick box. How many viewings they've done in the week? So they want, you are just one number. So you say, no, don't worry, just have a look at it. Let's see if you will like it. But if a 3-bed is not ideal for you, it's not ideal for you. We don't want to waste our time as well. So we go through your list, what is important to you, and we just try and get it done. This is the new face of London. This is what most new buildings are like in Canary Wharf, in Docklands, in Battersea Power, 9 Elms, King's Cross. There's a big regeneration going on. It's a small city. It is dense, but they are trying to make the best out of what is available. The warehouses are being converted to live work units. There is a big regeneration going on in King's Cross. The Google headquarters is coming there in 2016. BNP Paribas are opening their new headquarters there as well. The Macmillan publishers are there. The network, the Eurostar has moved to King's Cross. What the Eurostar gives you is city to city travel from London to Paris. So basically you travel from London, St. Pancras, and in 2 hours you are in Paris. As against flying to Paris, you take off your shoes, take off your belts, your weights, land, Charles de Gaulle, then commute to the city. But from St. Pancras now, you get a train, and in 2 hours you are there. So I think that's one of the best things that's happened. And there are plans actually to extend it to other parts of Europe. Well, there's still high demand on properties. We all went through a major recession in 2007, but London is one of the first cities to bounce back and bounce back quickly. Property prices are still going up. It's a 10-year cycle. I made this point yesterday that London is not, I don't really know Port Harcourt very well, but London is not Wuse or Maitama, and it's not Banana Island in Lagos. It's not somewhere you buy a property and in 2 months' time it has doubled. There's no miracle. It would double, it would do well, but it's not overnight. It's not overnight. And that is why the market is still strong. So after all this, you would ask me, who can buy in London? I would say it's you. Thank you very much.